the Blitz here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM, on the go at ESPNSA.com. He's Jason Minix. I'm Rob Thompson. Well, we're going to have us some college football. It's coming around the corner. Processes are in place. I am so interested and excited to welcome on the show Coach Jeff Traylor, the UTSA Roadrunner football program. Hey, Coach, welcome aboard. I know you're a busy man. Thanks for spending some time here with ESPN San Antonio.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It's kind of crazy. I don't think we've had you on the show since you got the job. And, man, the world has changed a little since then. What has it been like for you trying to take over a program as a first-year coach in the middle of a pandemic and not being able to see your players really until this week?
Oh, it's just remind us how special what we get to do with children. It really is. We don't take it for granted for sure anymore. We had volunteer workouts all summer, and those kids were just so grateful to get back in front of Ryan Filo's presence and get to work out. We've had over 90 kids here all summer long and voluntarily working out, and they were amazing all summer. And then we started our walkthroughs. They were amazing. And today was our first practice, and we didn't have one kid late for one meeting, not one kid late for breakfast, not one kid late for lunch. They were 100%. And I can promise you there are very few programs in the country that had 100% on everything today.
Coach, just out of curiosity, what is the punishment for being late for a meeting or two?
We just call it dropping them in the grease with Coach Filo, and Coach Filo just has ways of making sure they don't forget again.
I can understand being late to a meeting. Ain't nobody late for lunch. If you're late for lunch, do you just skip the meal?
Only a kicker's late for lunch, man.
We've only had one, and we were all there, so I couldn't tell you yet. Now the 6:30 meeting this morning, even though breakfast was there ready to roll, that would have been the one I might have been a little bit late for back in the day.
Well, see, that's the problem, Coach. I mean, you put these kids in bad situations. I've got a college kid, man. 6 a.m., man. Well, that's bad on you, but that's worse for them.
Yeah, no doubt. I told them there's nothing that they're going to try that I hadn't already tried once, so it's going to be hard to kind of con.
That is Coach Jeff Traylor, head football coach of the UTSA Roadrunners. The process has begun. First practice today as they got together on the football field. Coach, what is the process like in putting together not just your first season with UTSA, but building a program? I'm really curious, and then put that in context of the situation you're in now. Are you where you thought you'd be in the grandest scheme, or the things you need to catch up with, or you plan your work your plan, and just keep one step at a time?
It all starts with our culture, what our brand really is. And the first day I got the job, our pinky promise is integrity. And I can remember saying, like it was yesterday, it's easy to be a man when everything's going good. Where are you? When times of where things aren't very comfortable. That's what you find out about a man's character. And I didn't know that was going to be challenged so much with the pandemic, with the social injustice, with the passing of Bryce Wisdom. We've had a lot go on in our program, but I know where our kids are. It's forged us to become extremely, extremely close as a unit. So we've just been through so much together. So that's where it starts, is your brand and your culture. From there, obviously, it gets into schemes. And we just took those 12 walkthroughs and treated them like 15 spring practices as far as our installs. And we're starting over with install 1 today. And they picked up on it pretty quick. And obviously, we'll see how much we carry into that very first game. It just depends on when and who and how much we can retain before that day.
UTSA head coach Jeff Traylor with us here on ESPN San Antonio. You mentioned that first game, not against LSU now because, we all know the reasons. How do you go about trying to fill out the schedule and then make up for the financial loss of that LSU game?
Well, that's why I just coach the football team. That's why Dr. Compost takes care of all that kind of stuff. Those are things that are above my pay grade, I'm afraid to say. We know she's working really hard to try to get us to 12 games, and we feel really good that she'll take care of that. And I know she's working hard at it. So I can't get into all that kind of stuff. I got to make sure, our 105 kids that are at camp are going to be ready to roll.
Coach Jeff Traylor, UTSA Roadrunners here on ESPN San Antonio. Coach, let's talk about some of those players that you've been working with all summer long. Your offense, let's talk about your quarterback position. Frank Harris and former starters behind him. Tell us where you're thinking we're going to see, or who we're going to see on game one taking the first snap.
Well, we're one of the few schools in the country that have 4 kids that have started FBS football games. You know, you've got Lowell, you've got JoJo, you've got Frank, and we have Josh. And all 4 of those kids have started FBS games. So we feel great about our depth. We split practice today, or we could get all 4 groups going the entire time. So we got tons of reps today, and we're just going to keep that competition open. We'll have a scrimmage, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Let's just start getting a little bit closer to see who that guy's going to be. And that's how we're rolling with that right now.
Coach Jeff Traylor, you're new, but, just like every other coach I've talked to, high school level, I do a lot of high school football, college. You never want to tell us who the starting quarterback is going to be, but, in doing high school football games here in San Antonio for over 20 years, I saw a lot of Frank's games in high school, as well as Josh Atkins up there at Smithson Valley. And the idea that Josh transferred from New Mexico State as a grad transfer coming in, I think was great for your program, great for Josh. I did notice, though, in Phil Steele's college football magazine, they have Josh listed as a starter. I thought that was kind of interesting. And I know, Phil talks to all the coaches about where they feel. I mean, do you have one that might have the upper hand on the other?
No, sir, we don't. That all 4 of those kids have different traits and characters that are really, really good. It's just going to be which one of them gets them in the end zone the most, which one can capture the team. And whoever that young man is, that's going to be the one. And that's just the way it is at that position. And you just can't have enough good players in that room. We divide our roster into 40 kids on offense, 40 kids on defense, 3 kids for specialists, which that's 83 if you're doing the math. There's 85 scholarships. Coach Traylor gets to pick just 2 whoever he wants, and I'm going to always be throwing quarterbacks in that room because you can never have enough great quarterbacks.
Coach Jeff Traylor joining us here on ESPN San Antonio, looking at the UTSA Roadrunner football program. Let's talk a little about your running back. Sincere McCormick certainly had a great opening season last year. You've coached a lot of running backs in your day. Anybody that you could compare him to? What are your thoughts on young Mr. McCormick?
Well, just his maturity. How great of a kid he is, being a hometown, local, those are just a lot of great advantages for him. He came from a great, great program, Converse Judson. Those guys do it right over there. So he knows how to play football and the correct way to play, and he's very talented. He's shifty. He's got great balance. He's got great feet. But we're also just as excited about Brennan Brady. I mean, he's a really good football player as well. We're deep in that position. We really are. We've got BJ, and we recruited a couple of good young backs as well. So we're expecting great things from Kadrick and Jalen. We've got that's a really deep room, and we feel really good about that room.
And that's a room with a lot of 2-1-0 right all over it. And I love you keeping the local talent home. And we'll get into recruiting in a moment. But I was going to ask, because everybody's going to ask you about your skill position guys. We know the nature there. You've been around the guys, but you didn't have spring practice. But has there been somebody that when you were looking at tape right after you got the job, before you got to know anybody, not just one guy, but a couple, who's really surprised you now that you've gotten to know them and see them in person versus your initial thoughts when you were watching tape?
I tried to not watch a ton of it because I didn't want any preconceived ideas. I just tried to come in and let them all earn, their own and what they've done in front of me. But obviously when spring ball got canceled and we had all that time at home, I had to start studying some video. Leroy has done an unbelievable job of leading our football team, and he's just amazed me in some other ways. He's a really good tight end, but he's really bought into what we're trying to do up here. He's very talented. At Bryce's funeral, he played the piano, he sang, and he wrote a song. So there's a lot more to that young man than I thought. Just watching him, he's really bought in. I'm really, really proud of Sticks at wide receiver. He leads our kids incredibly well out there at the wide receiver position. You just can't have enough great leaders. And it's one thing, there's a couple of skill sets at being a leader. One, you got to want to do it. You got to want to. And then number 2, you got to be a great communicator. And Leroy and Sticks have done a really great job of wanting to lead and communicate. So that'd be a couple of kids I'd say just kind of jumped out at me real quick.
Jeff Wilson, the UTSA Roadrunners, or Jeff Traylor, excuse me, joining us here on ESPN San Antonio. Sorry, reading an article, trying to do a show at the same time. Can't multitask, Coach. We're speaking of all your skill positions. Give us an idea what kind of offense that we're going to see when you hit the field.
It's going to be a conglomeration of a few guys. That's where I've kind of, I was an offensive side of the ball coach. I also coached defense earlier in my career, but as I became more and more into that, I went to the offensive side, and Coach Barry Lundy Jr., it's been around some great minds as well. Coach Will Stein, I've been around some great minds. We're I think Coach Lundy might have used the term, we're a mutt of an offense, because we've all got, Matt Maddox, my brother Kurt, we've all six of us have just been around a lot of great ball. And so we'll be a combination of a lot of things. But, in some big picture terminology, we want to be an aggressive offense. We want to be able to change the tempo. We want to be able to play as fast as possible, but also understand you got to change the tempo at times as well. So we'll be no huddle, mainly 75-80% of the time. We'll be under center, 15-20% of the time. And, the most fun offenses are always the ones that score points. Doesn't matter how you do it. And we just got to get in the end zone and score. And we're trying to match our talent up with some of our schemes right now. And once we figure all that out, we'll get a better picture of what we're going to be.
Well, and you talk about scoring points. It reminds me when you first got the job, and I knew obviously your history at Gilmer, and you came to San Antonio at UTSA from Arkansas, and former Razorback quarterback guy doing radio down in Houston now, Clint Sterner, when you got the job, he said, that paint dry offense you saw last year is about to change with Jeff Traylor taking over. You're going to be able to score some points.
Well, it's just kind of my personality. You got to be true to who you are. And I'm just a high energy, high octane kind of guy. It's just kind of the way the Lord made me. And we'll be going. Now, I can't describe exactly what that's going to look like in detail. Right now, we're throwing a whole lot at the kids. The term we're teaching them right now, we're throwing a whole lot of mud on the wall, and we're going to see what sticks. And at the end of the day, it's always about players. That's always been my greatest strength, is figuring out which guys could really play and finding a way to get the ball in their hands. When in doubt, think player. Don't think play.
True. Yeah. The pride of Big Sandy High, head coach of the UTSA Roadrunners, Jeff Traylor, joining us here on ESPN San Antonio.
Now, Coach, as I mentioned, you've got some San Antonio talent that you've been able to recruit here. Picked up another one just this week. Now, I have a kid staying with us for a couple weeks till he can move into his dorm over there at UTSA on August 20th, I think. A guy named Austin Donnelly, communications major. He's in the band. And he came up with a question for you because you are doing such a good job in recruiting. How are you pitching at UTSA to these recruits?
Well, it's so easy. I mean, it's why I wanted the job so much. It starts with the city of San Antonio. It's the 7th largest city in the country. It's a multicultural community. And with what all is going on in the country right now, so many of our children feel very comfortable here. They feel like they're heard. They feel safe. So that's been a huge attraction to a lot of our recruits. Then you get to our university. We feel really great about our university and the degree what that's going to carry. Send that plays right into San Antonio again. When you get through here, you're going to have a great opportunity to find a job because you're in the 7th largest city in the country. Then you get to the Alamo Dome. I mean, there's not a better place to play in the country than going to the Alamo Dome. It's 72 degrees, partly cloudy, no wind in there at all. It's just perfect in there. And the last piece is where we're located. Once again, we're in the hotbed of Texas. We can get to Houston. We can get to Dallas. We've got Central Texas, East Texas, and our own area, San Antonio, which is where we focus the most. We're trying to keep the SA in the SA, and we've done a heck of a job doing that. From grad transfer to recruits, we feel really good about all of our kids wanting to stay home because think about it. If you sign 7 players from San Antonio every year and you get 7 or 8 walk-ons, that's 15 players a class times 5. That means you're going to have 75 players on the roster. Alamo Dome's going to fill up pretty quick with all those families and communities coming to watch their kids play.
Yes, sir.
Keep the SA in SA. I appreciate that. Coach Jeff Traylor joining us here on ESPN San Antonio. Well, Coach, there's not a better man to take over the job. We've got it right here. Coach Traylor here on UTSA. We appreciate you taking some time out with us. Look forward to talking to you again. Good luck to you, Coach.
Thank y'all so much. We're excited to have football up and rolling again. Come see us.
I hope we can.
If not, we'll Zoom.
we certainly will. Coach Traylor joining us here on ESPN San Antonio. We're excited about this. That there's an old saying, when there's blood on the streets, buy land. Invest now. Get in now when things are down, because things are going to come up quicker than not. And Coach Traylor certainly feels like a man meeting a moment. Finding leadership and getting all this put together in such a crazy time. You want to talk about a team that will be molded and bonded together. I can assure you, I'm not sure how many wins and losses are coming, but they're going to go down swinging, and they're going to go down or win together no matter what.
Well, and everything that I've heard from people that I know within the program, and I don't know Jeff Traylor. We've talked to him a couple of times. I haven't met him in person,
only.
Right? Mm-hmm. But just everything I hear is fantastic. And one of the things that he did say is, you find the players and you match their skill set, because he's got a tough job. Whereas you take Mike Leach, also a first-year coach, you're going to run his system and learn all his terminology, period. If he doesn't have those right players, they're screwed. And with no offseason, I think Jeff Traylor sounds like the kind of coach that is going to make that work. I don't know with Mike Leach's system how well he will be able to adjust to the players that were already on campus when he got there.
Good point. Form following function, plays following talent. Absolutely.